the world of warrior cats has a lot of villains. It has so many villains that an afterlife had to be made specifically dedicated for them, the Dark Forest. Some cats are not straight up evil, but instead are morally gray. They've done evil, but also a lot of good. These cats tend to be rare and very decisive in the fandom. Even rarer are the cats who are evil, but a lot of people want to pretend that they are not. Most of the time that is because of a sympathetic backstory, or the fact that the cat is an unreliable narrator whose story is so convincing that even the reader has fallen into their manipulative trap. Though the two cats I'm covering today may seem incredibly different, they are united by one thing: the fact that many people continually try and defend their actions or claim that their actions didn't even happen in canon. But the law, in theory, should have no such biases. So let's see how these two cats, Thistleclaw and Mapleshade, fare in a court of law. Before we get started, if you are new to the channel, please think about subscribing. I regularly post both Wings of Fire and Warrior Cats content, so you'll never be bored. And to my current subscribers, thank you so much for supporting me. I wouldn't have gone here without y'all. In addition, there are a few trigger warnings for this video. It should go without saying that almost all my videos mention death or injury in some form. This video is different in the fact that it mentions child grooming and things of such nature. If that makes you uncomfortable, I recommend not watching this video or skipping ahead to the Mapleshade section using the chapters feature. Now without further ado, let's start with Thistleclaw, and let's get the obvious out of the way. A lot of people claim that Spotted Leaf's heart is non-canon because Thistleclaw behaves so differently in that book to any of the other books. However, in my opinion, he behaves the exact same way he always has. Bluestar is not behaving as an unreliable narrator would in this instance. If you want more information on that, feel free to consult my videos, Was Thistleclaw a Good Cat Before Spotted Leaf's Heart, and Bluestar Could Have Kept Her Kits. I'll have them linked in the description because I don't feel like saying the entire thing now. It's over 500 words of explanation if I wanted to put it in, so I'm not going to do that. So let's just move on to the books. I'm going to start this section with his incident with Tiny. Well, that is far from his first reckless and dangerous action, such as the time he almost fought another apprentice at Gathering, and the time he tried to take on an entire pack of dogs alone and endanger the cats in his patrol. It's the first thing I can charge him with. While on the patrol with his apprentice, Tigerpaw, and Bluefur, he encounters a young kitty pet. He orders his apprentice, Tigerpaw, to attack this kitty pet to teach him a lesson. It appears as though Tigerpaw will kill this kit, as confirmed in both the manga and Bluestar's prophecy. The only thing that stops him from killing the kits is Bluefur, who steps in and tells him that this is not the way of a warrior. For this spur-of-the-moment attack, I can charge him with second-degree attempted murder. It is also hinted that Thistleclaw physically abused his apprentice in Tigerclaw's fury. For that, I will charge him with child abuse because it is very likely he did so. Thistleclaw calls his own son weak and even subjects him to grueling training to try and fix him. For that, I will have to charge him with child abuse. He attempts to kill Oakheart, a RiverClan warrior, for being on ThunderClan territory. Though Oakheart should not have been there, a warrior is supposed to only kill in battle and when necessary. Neither of the two apply to this situation, so I will charge him with second-degree attempted murder. Spotted Leaf's heart is obviously a story of grooming. Thistleclaw starts his attempt back when she is a kit, when he begins to bring her gifts in the nursery. When she becomes an apprentice, he gives her special attention as well. Thistleclaw makes clear attempts to take on Spotted Paw as a mate despite her age. For this, I will charge him with child exploitation. Though nothing too serious happened between them, it is clear the experience traumatized Spotted Paw, enough so that she changed her entire plans for life so that she could become a healer. He can also be charged with child abuse once more. Thistleclaw later dies from attacking a RiverClan patrol. He, obviously and deservedly, goes to the Dark Forest. He does not reappear again until Omen of the Stars, where he trains the apprentices, aka living cats. In a training session, he rips Antpelt's ears. That's a charging mutilation because it goes outside the regular parameters of training. He also attacks Ivypaw, an apprentice, for no reason, leading to yet another charge of child abuse. Thistleclaw is the one who sets up Ivypaw and Antpelt together in a fight that leads to Antpelt's death. For that, I will charge him with manslaughter. The rest of his harmful actions in that arc occur during battle, so I will not charge him with anything. In the Broken Code, Thistleclaw was a part of Ashfur's plot to take over the Dark Forest and overthrow StarClan. Thistleclaw helps keep the captured StarClan cats on the island. For that, I will give him a dozen charges of unlawful imprisonment. As for the war crimes, he can be charged with using child soldiers, as very young cats have been known to train in the Dark Forest, such as Crooked Kit. He can also be charged with genocide for trying to kill StarClan along with Ashfur. Now, let's talk about what he's charged with. 30 years for 2 counts of second-degree attempted murder, 24 years for 4 counts of child abuse, 15 to 30 years for child exploitation, 1 to 20 for mutilation, 6 years for manslaughter, 120 for a dozen charges of unlawful imprisonment, 30 to death for use of child soldiers, 30 to death for genocide. And for this video onwards, I'm going to include how many years in total a cat would have to serve for the charges all in all. For life sentences, I will take the average lifespan of an indoor and outdoor cat and average it once more, giving me around 9 years for a life sentence. So all life sentences will be 9 years. I will also use my personal discretion on some offenses. If it says 1 to 30 years and I don't think what it did was that severe, I'm going with 1. In total, Thistleclaw will spend around 256 years in prison. Now, let's move on to Mapleshade. Her possible charges starts with her lying about the identity of her kits. She claimed that they were birch faces, however instead they were apple dusks. This is paternity fraud. It's not a crime in most states, it's just a legal term. And in the states where it is a crime, it's not commonly charged. Instead, contempt of court over false information is more common, I believe. I'm not too sure on this one, so feel free to correct me in the comments. For this, I will give her 3 counts of contempt. Now, onto her kits' deaths. Some people say that Mapleshade was responsible for her kits being swept into the river. She knew that it was spring and that the river was susceptible to flooding. She decided to take a narrow path instead of moving upriver and taking a more secure one, the bridge, which she does later. She also knew that her kits, though they were half river clan, struggled to swim. Patchkit had to be rescued by Appledusk after she took her kit swimming one day, and he warned her not to bring her kits near the river again because one of them may drown. Even if a flood had not occurred, what if one of them fell into the river? They could have drowned that way. One can excuse her lack of foresight on her panicking. Her entire clan had turned against her and she didn't know what to do. She also could not have predicted a flood would occur. I found a real-life case similar to this one where 2 parents drove their car into floodwaters, resulting in the death of child dependents. In that case, they were charged with manslaughter and child abuse. However, there's an obvious difference here between the parents and Mapleshade, which is extenuating circumstances. Mapleshade was panicking and believed she had no other options. Even so, I feel like it is only right to charge her with 3 counts of manslaughter. After all of her kits died and she was turned away from RiverClan, Mapleshade began to formulate a plan to kill all cats who wronged her. Clear premeditation. Mapleshade first kills Ravenwing. She makes sure he is alone and corners him in the Moonstone Cave. I can charge her with first-degree murder. Later, she finds his grave and digs him up so the birds can eat him. For this, she can be charged with desecration of a corpse, which is probably the first time that I've charged any cat or dragon with that. She later attempts to kill Frecklewish with a snake. It is not confirmed whether she ended up killing her successfully, so she can only be charged with first-degree attempted murder. However, Frecklewish does lose her eyesight immediately, so she can be charged with mutilation. Finally, she tries to kill Appledusk. Upon succeeding, she attempts to kill his apprentice, Perchpaw, as well as his mate, Reedshine. For this, she can be charged with first-degree murder and 2 counts of second-degree attempted murder, as she initially did not plan to kill them. However, when presented with the opportunity, she did eagerly try and take their lives. Perchpaw fatally wounds her and she dies, ending up in the Dark Forest. But once again, death means nothing to evildoers, and in the Dark Forest, Mapleshade takes up a leadership position, recruiting new cats to join them, even before Tigerstar's plans. The next time she appears chronologically is Goosefeather's curse. Shockingly, she commits no crime against him and instead helps him, claiming that StarClan has punished him enough already. In reality, she was there to encourage him to follow his violent urges and wants to deepen his hatred of StarClan. The next time she commits a crime is in Crooked Star's Promise. The namesake promise of the book could be considered coercion, as she continuously holds it over his head to try and control him, so I will charge her with that. She also deceived the young Crooked Kid of her identity, claiming that she was a StarClan cat. For that, I will give her a charge of identity fraud. Her training him in cat hell counts as child abuse. Mapleshade led Two Legs and Willowbreeze. Without her assistance, the Two Legs never would have found the she-cat. For that, I will give Mapleshade a charge of aiding and abetting kidnapping. Mapleshade attempts to kill Hailstar so that Crooked Jaw will become clan leader. She fails, but Hailstar does die. It can be argued that without Mapleshade's additions, the rats would not have overwhelmed the leader. For her additions, I will charge her with second-degree murder. Much later, Mapleshade appears in Tiger Claw's Fury. Yeah, I bet you forgot about that too. And for good reason, she never should have been in it. In this, she feeds into Tiger Claw's worst urges. She cannot be charged with anything, but it should be noted that she played into his urges and possibly contributed to his later violent actions. Later, Mapleshade reappears in the Dark Forest training apprentices. While in a training session with Ivy Paw, she almost drowns the apprentice. For this, I will charge her with second-degree attempted murder. In the Broken Code, she facilitated Ashfur's plan to take over the Dark Forest, and she helped keep the captured cats on the island. And for that, I will charge her with over a dozen counts of unlawful imprisonment. As for war crimes, Mapleshade can be charged with use of child soldiers, as she recruited Crooked Kit into training for the Dark Force at a young age. She can also be charged with genocide, not only for cooperating with Ashfur's plan for StarClan, but also for her plan to wipe out every single cat descended from Reedshine and Appledusk. Also, during the battle, she intentionally planned for the Dark Force to target places where weak cats could be, mainly the nursery. That is a war crime. Now let's move on to what she is charged with. 540 days for contempt, 24 years for all of her child abuse charges, 18 for 3 counts of manslaughter, 3 counts of life or death for 3 counts of first-degree murder, up to 12 years for desecration of a corpse, 3 life sentences or death for 3 counts of first-degree attempted murder, 1 to 20 years for mutilation, 15 years for kidnapping, 45 years for 3 counts of second-degree attempted murder, 1 year for coercion, up to 15 years for identity fraud, up to life for second-degree murder, 120 years for a dozen charges of unlawful imprisonment, 30 to death for use of child soldiers, 30 to death for genocide, and 30 to death for targeting civilian buildings. That's a lot of crimes. All in all, if she was immortal and spent all of this time in prison, she would have to serve around 354 years for all of her crimes. Did you like this video? If so, comment some more cats that I can charge down below. Also, mention if I forgot anything, or if anything is too inaccurate as well. I'd hate to let any cat get away with a crime. If you like this video, feel free to subscribe. I make Wings of Fire and Warrior Cats videos pretty often, and your support would mean a lot to me. And to those who've already subscribed, thank you for your continued support. I wouldn't have gotten here without y'all. Peace, Roken out.